there. And give it 1 second so I can turn this thing down. Hold on, hold on. Almost there, almost there. Here we go. Boom. All right. Everyone in TV land and my at least one person in my Zoom room, we are going to do a going in and letting go class. And we'll work with some gut body stuff. So I'm just going to talk before we get there. Before we get to the point of doing this, we're going to do this breath that has like kind of, you're going to have spit in your throat. You're going to kind of gurgle like this. We're showing it to you as I'm seated, but it's easier to do when you're laying down. So we're going to get there eventually, but I just wanted to show you that while I was up. Yeah, on the interest of really going into our own bodies and kind of like today maybe gushing around a little bit in our digestive tract, as one likes to do, right? Sometimes, but also just letting go of whatever kind of tensions and holdings we have going on in our bodies that are not serving us. There's a lot of activity in my house right now, so hopefully it's not too distracting for you or me. However, that is life, isn't it? Having things going on. So I'm going to start. I'm on the hard floor today. Sometimes I like to do this just on the wood, just to get the feedback of the wood into my body. So just taking a minute to land. It's something I keep talking about, and that is like as if you're going to make an imprint into the ground underneath you. Maybe it's your bed, maybe it's the floor, maybe it's a chair. Wherever you are is fine. And this whole practice you can really take in whatever way works for you and whatever feels good for you. You can invite in micro movement. You can stay still. You can roll around. You could even do this walking. We're basically just coming in to our sensation of being in our bodies and bringing our awareness online, or at least being aware of our awareness, noticing whatever we are noticing. So the invitation right now is to come into your body, into your awareness, into your sensation without having to change anything, just to receive yourself right now in this moment. And ideally within that, it would be great if you can do it in as loving, kind, compassionate, non-judgmental manner as possible. Your cells hear you, right? Your cells, your body, even if you make jokes about yourself, like in a self-deprecating manner, your body is hearing that and maybe doesn't understand that that's funny. So maybe just kindness and compassion for your body as you land in sensation. And giving yourself a few breaths to breathe into that and to maybe nestle into the floor or nestle into the space where you are. And you could even imagine that like you can nestle into the front space, nestle into the back space, nestle into the side space, the above below space, letting yourself sort of just nestle into being in your own skin. And starting to notice maybe the natural rise and fall of your breath. In the Laban work we talk about, or the Laban Bartenieff work, we talk a lot about growing and shrinking with the breath. So imagining that maybe just on this tiny cellular level, or maybe on a big macro level, there's this natural sort of growing and shrinking with the breath, rising and sinking. This natural, very maybe subtle, maybe not subtle, getting bigger and getting smaller with the breath as you inhale, growing, as you exhale, sort of shrinking in. And feeling into that on whatever level you're feeling into it. And let's bring in some theta breath. So the theta is a soft hiss, very gentle, easy hiss. And you can let the breath play out for as long as it feels comfortable. Taking resting breaths in between whenever you want. Letting the theta breath sort of, it's a weird image, but sort of deflate you a little bit. So if you're puffed up, if you're filled up and expanded, let the theta breath just kind of soften you a little bit, giving you some extra space. Inviting in some micro movement from the head to the tail. You can think of your nervous system just being allowed to have micro movement wherever it feels like it, like little poppings and releasings, or letting your muscles kind of have that freedom to do whatever they want to do. So that is playing out through your nervous system, right? Your nervous system is letting itself kind of release and unwind, and then it might show up in your muscles and in your tissues. Or it just might be an interesting exploration, allowing yourself to move or micro move in the interest of exploring, of inquiry, without any goal, without any need to fix or change, but just out of curiosity. If we stick with this idea of the growing and shrinking with the breath, or even the cells, the deep cellular breathing, we can allow the tissues in our body to sort of dance with that. And it can be very subtle, or it could be more obvious. Just listening in and letting yourself play in that space in any way that feels good and interesting. Allowing the internal flows of your body, so your blood flow, your lymphatic flow, the flow of your digestion, to just have this natural movement, this natural ease, this natural support, that even just breathing fully or breathing with that growing and shrinking idea can underlie in a sort of way of just increasing this fluidity and flow. The flow of the breath coming in and out can improve the flow of the blood, can improve the flow of the lymphatic fluid, and even the cerebrospinal fluid, which is bathing our brain and our nervous system, our spinal cord. And it's also acting, so our cerebrospinal fluid is in there moving around, it's clearing away waste, and it's also carrying nutrition to our brain and our spinal cord. So allowing that fluid to move easily. And maybe it's only in your own imagination that it's moving easily, or maybe it's really happening. But just giving the image into your mind of this ease, this really intelligent fluid nourishing our brains and our nervous system, also bolstering it, and then it's also removing waste. So it's clearing, there's this natural detoxification. And that's what our lymph is doing as well. And in many ways, our blood is doing that too. Our blood is bringing oxygen and nutrition through our body. And then it returns back into the heart, clears out, and goes back out again, right? So it's these systems of nourishment and detoxification are working in harmony and in balance. And we're just inviting that in. So from that place, let's start to play with that breath, with the gargly breath. So it's like you have a little bit of spit in your throat. And it's kind of like you're bubbling it, like, I don't know, like a dragon getting ready to blow out your fire, or whatever kind of steam is going to come out of your mouth. But once I start doing that breath, it really starts to slow me down, like I feel into myself. So we're thinking of this breath as kind of working with the gut body, so that there's this natural support of all the mucous membranes and all the tissues that go down our whole digestive system. And also that there's the support of this natural peristalsis. Again, it's sort of that feeling of growing and shrinking, which we can magnify with our movement, inviting it into our whole system, right? Letting ourselves become less rigid, letting ourselves have fluid movement through our torsos. So we're not gripping and grabbing and holding. We're just softening and easing and letting go, if that feels good. When I go into these explorations myself, I start to go, oh, there's something. I could just get softer there. I could get easier. I could let go of something there. So kind of looking for that material. And if you find that you're repeating a pattern over and over, or even a thought pattern or an idea, just let that go and dive into something novel, some different kind of movement. Back to that gut body breath. And I can let my mouth kind of shape and form so that my tongue's in there like some kind of sea creature, swallowing whenever I need to. And inviting whatever kind of ripples and waves feel interesting to play out through my system. So we could say it's like the wave-like or tentacle movement, like an octopus or like a water creature. Just inviting that fluidity and that aliveness into our body. So it's not stagnant and stuck, but it's fluid and alive. Inviting that fluidity through your whole body. So it doesn't just have to be, we don't just have to stay stuck in our gut bodies thinking in there, but we can also let our whole system start to sort of light up that bioluminescence of aliveness inside of our sea creature bodies, letting that bioluminescence shine out like our aura. Yeah, I mean, this is all perhaps imaginary ideas. Let your imagination go wild with that idea. If we saw ourselves with different eyes, we'd see ourselves as different types of patterns, right? So this is an invitation to go into patterning that's very different than your personality. I am this person and behave like this. Let that all go and just see what else is in there. Really participating with the fluids in your body. and inviting in any kind of movement that feels good, any kind of breath that feels good. And it might be sometimes that like really pushing or pulling feels good, or it might be just melting and spreading. Really listening into your own body. And it can change very, very quickly. It can shift from one thing to another, or you can really rest in your awareness. So when I feel that gut body breath, I kind of had this image of like the scuba diver bubbles coming up. Right, and as that bubbling is coming up, there's movement underneath, there's replacement of air, there's shifting. It also kind of reminds me of a cat purring. So in this somatic exploration, we've talked about a lot of things, right? The digestion, the nervous system, all these fluid systems. In a coherent body, in a healthy body, these systems are all working in a dynamic flow of coherence, right? So when we start to let go of some stuckness or some stagnation, and we tune into more coherent patterning, there's more space for life. There's more access to negotiating change. And we can also think like in the sort of fractal patterning of the microcosm and the macrocosm, that like if I kind of find a fluid flow somewhere in my body, like if I can find this maybe in my arms or in my fingers, maybe that can translate into my intestines, into my guts, into my lungs, into the lung sacs that are taking in the air, right? I'm inviting in relaxation, ease, fluidity, flow, letting go of whatever is not serving, whatever is stuck or sticky. So coming into these states, like here I am on the floor in my house, and my brother and my mom and my boyfriend and my cats, they're all outside of this room. But I can be here and just do my thing, and they can do their things, and I can hear them. They're coming and going, and they can hear me. But it's just, I'm just doing my thing. It's not so precious, right? I want to be able to come into these states and this feeling at any time. It doesn't have to be in a cave in the vast wilderness or just outside when everything's perfect in nature. But I can find these places. I can tune into this aliveness and this awareness, even when I'm in an uncomfortable and awkward situation, right? I can go, oh, can I just tune into that flow in my body and find some ease? Because this is a familiar state, because I spend time going to this state. And I don't need like the perfect right prescription, right? Everything can have variety. I can find this in different ways. Not too precious, but playful. Yeah, it's also like a cat purring. I know I was thinking that before. I don't know if I said that out loud. So it isn't a goal to extend the exhale forever, but if you do slow down your exhale, it will drop you into a deeper parasympathetic state. And the parasympathetic state is the rest and digest, soothe, and settle. So if we are in there, that's when our body has the chance to process. Digestion is processing food. Maybe we need to process what happened sometime, maybe we need to process an injury or an illness, giving our body the chance to move through something or to move with something. And if you notice your mind kind of getting stuck on something, just come back into sensation. You can always come back to the theta breaths, the growing and shrinking with the breath, or the gut body breath. So most of the time when I'm in these somatic explorations, most of the time it's really not an emotional thing. Like I'm not in some kind of judgment place. I'm more in an experiencing place and a noticing place. And I'm usually not in a very analytical place either. I'm just feeling into noticing. But every once in a while, it is an emotional thing. Or some things come up and my mind might get stuck. Or sometimes if I'm taking a class and I'm in someone else's class, sometimes my brain can get really creative with amazing ideas. So sometimes I just write them down on a piece of paper in the middle of class just to set them free and to not have to think about them anymore. So always feel free to, let yourself process in whatever ways you need to. And if it becomes too much or you feel like, oh, I need to come back to myself, this is scary, just come back into yourself. Notice the space around you. Get up, take a little walk, do some cat cow, do some exercise. That will bring you right back into being a person real fast. But if it's possible, when you start to reach those uncomfortable edges, just hang out a little longer and see. And I don't mean uncomfortable like, oh, it's so painful in my body. If it's painful in your body, stop. But if it's just fear of meeting your deep self, maybe see if you can start to come closer to that edge of accepting yourself, whatever shows up, however it shows up. It's just you. And on many levels, you already know all of that. This isn't some secret thing that's going to come up and scare you. It's just you. And we're coming in with kindness. We're coming in with compassion and allowing permission. We're not coming in to make things bad. We're coming in to filter the waters and, work through stuff in a way that's gentle and easy, hopefully. And whether our awareness is in this internal dance or whether our awareness is in an external dance, it's still our awareness. And as long as we're alive in human bodies, it's very much connected to our life force and our human body. I'm going to give us like 10 minutes of music to, I hear thunder outside too. That's exciting. Just to go into some movement with sound. As usual, it's Jeff Gersh, Ambient Fields. Allowing the sound to fill you, move with you, move around you, influence you, suspend you, animate you, or just hang out with you. So really just letting it in however it feels good. Oh yeah, I got the creaky floor too. want to offer also, if it feels good, to put your hands on parts of your body, your guts, your heart, your face, your arms, anything. Feel free to give yourself some self-touch, right? Connect. Self to self, or self to floor. So for me, this is a lot of information is coming from the floor to my body. So the self-touch doesn't feel so necessary. Give yourselves like a couple of minutes just to calm down, to be with whatever you're exploring. Resting in the silence of your own experience. Yeah, even if we're doing kind of nothing, sometimes it's good just to let that process too. Being in open awareness of no extra doings of any kind, or minimal doings. Maybe coming back to the awareness of the growing and shrinking with the breath. And the deep cellular breathing. I'm going to end the live stream there. If you watch this, if you made it through, please feel free to like and subscribe.